Other big news this week is that E3 is officially dead. I mean, we've kind of thought it has been for months now, right? Let's just go over the details here. Basically, E3 is started as kind of like a trade event. I went to the first one. I think it was in Atlanta or Los Angeles. Probably Los Angeles.
I think it was Los Angeles first, and then it went to Atlanta, and then it came back.
1994, Virtua Fighter Remix. That's what I remember of it.
Brutal.
Anyway,
wow.
Across the years, the show got bigger and bigger and more spectacular, louder for sure. And then basically online happened and people realized that they could actually talk about their games without having to spend millions of dollars on a booth. Then the pandemic happened and E3 basically stopped. And, there's been various attempts to bring it back since. And, they didn't succeed. It's over. And this week it was officially revealed by the ESA that that's it. They're not even going to try anymore. It's over. It's completely over. So I guess it's all over to Jeff and the Summer Games Fest. John, I mean, it's not great news, is it? But kind of inevitable.
Obviously, pandemic didn't help, but I think this was something that was kind of coming for a while. And a lot of it has to do with publishers, I think, realizing, like, wait a minute, why should we share the spotlight with any other large publisher, right? Like, why would Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo all want to run their big news at the same time during the same week, right? Like, they've realized that they can get their own dedicated news cycles by calculating these events to run at very specific times of the year. They don't need to spend all this money and put up this booth space just for a bunch of people. This isn't the magazine days. My guess is that that's what ultimately led down this path. Now, that doesn't mean the end of shows, obviously. And most shows are still focused either completely on the consumer or they're specifically designed for developers. But E3 kind of occupied this weird space where it was kind of born out of this, almost this retail market that's kind of changed a lot. It was based on, people within the industry writing about stuff as it happened that people would not have an other easy way to see, right? Before internet streaming and all that. But now it just doesn't make as much sense. And the biggest loss, I think, comes for folks like us, where it was a chance to make good contacts and meet with people that you maybe only spoke with online and opportunities that would arise from that. And that kind of goes away because it was just like everybody consolidating in that one space for like a week. And that was it was really special, really great.
I think the origins of the show are basically for retailers to basically see the games that they were going to be buying in for Christmas.
That's right.
Which again, now is a case where they don't go hands-on. I guess there probably are still behind-the-scenes meetings where the publishers go to, the likes of GameStop or whatever and show the games, but it's not quite the same. But it did get out of hand, I think, E3 as an event.
Oh, yeah.
And, I kind of was eventually realised that it's probably better if I don't go because I see more games because it's just too much content. Right?
Yeah, that's why, when we would do it, it was only made sense to send like one of us because, there was good opportunities there, things to get that were great. But there was so much other coverage that otherwise could only happen if most people were not there.
Conversely, though, Gamescom this year seemed to be in rude health.
Actually, it was good. That went great. And that actually toes that line pretty well between having a business event and a consumer-facing event. Yeah. And I think they do a great job with it. I also think the Köln Messe is perfect for these shows because it's pretty darn big. I think it's significantly better laid out than like the LACC, which, it can support this sort of, gigantic business area, but also a gigantic consumer space. Yeah. Which I think is valuable.
Also cheaper.
So, yeah.
Can I just get a pronunciation check on the Köln Messe there, Alex?
Was it okay?
Köln Messe. Köln Messe.
So yes.
Köln.
We are dealing with another Wolfenstein situation.
There's a little of that. I've never been to E3, but I guess at least from the perspective of watching E3 conferences, there is obviously a change in style of how information is doled out these days regarding upcoming releases. But one thing that I always did enjoy that E3 did do but didn't happen all the time. We've joked about the times where they didn't do it through our commentaries about E3s. But when they do a live demonstration of a game on stage, those were always really special, I thought. And I'm a very big fan of that, just because it's like exciting, and then as a developer talking about what they did, and they're showing it off usually in real time, the person playing there with the controller, what have you. That is really cool. That is something you definitely miss in a direct style showing. And most of the time, like, we've also commented on the fact that these sizzle reel trailers are not very insightful. And that definitely is what is in vogue these days. So I do kind of miss some of the stylings from E3, but I don't miss at all
the mid 2000s suits.
Yeah, I miss those. I miss the suits.
I mean, the suits, that was something special. That was something
special.
Well, I think from a journalistic perspective, I've mentioned this before, but we are in the era of minimal accountability, and actually having an event where you can speak to execs and get them on the record about stuff and ask them questions that they don't want to answer is actually hugely valuable. And, we've reached the point now where I can send off questions to platform holders, to whatever, asking for clarification on stuff, asking for more information, and you just get ghosted. You just don't get a reply, right? And, if this happens to me, it's happening to a lot of people. And, it's to the point now where I think marketing departments have realized that if there's an issue out there, the nature of the internet is that if you say nothing for 48 hours, then people have moved on to the next outrage.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They don't, do you see the pattern forming there? So there's been a number of stuff. And it actually turns out that, in my experience, about 80-90% of the time you pose these questions and a simple clarifying statement would have just killed the story anyway. The classic case in point being the old, remember when they did the first revision of the PlayStation 5 with the smaller heatsink? All it really required was a statement from Sony saying, we've got telemetry, we've tested this out, here's our testing regimen, it's going to be fine, don't worry. And that would have been the end of the story, really. And instead it took a massive deep dive from Gamers Nexus to actually come up with the conclusion, actually, there's nothing wrong with the new PlayStation 5, it's absolutely fine. Even if the SoC does run a little bit hotter, it's not a problem. So there's all sort of weird things happening with transparency and accountability, and the concept of actually being at an event and seeing somebody and asking them a question, it's hugely valuable, and that's kind of the thing that I'm going to kind of miss the most, I think, from this.
Right.
But I guess we still have E3, we still have GDC.
Wait, you just said E3.
We don't have E3.
We don't have E3.
We don't have E3.
You haven't let
go. We have
go.
Gamescom. I have to let it go. I have to let it lie. We have Gamescom. We have GDC. Everything's going to be fine. But I just wonder what's going to happen in this sort of summer vacuum because,
Jeff Keighley.
Well, possibly, yeah. But if the sort of mentality of publishers is that they don't really want to engage with this, it's a lot of effort for very little reward. We'll do it in our own time. Then what does Jeff offer? Much the same thing, possibly.
Yeah, announcements and stuff. I suppose.
Yeah,
maybe exposure for smaller games. I guess it's possible.
Smaller game exposure. Mm-hmm.
I do think, Alex, so you mentioned the live demos, and those were awesome to watch.
Yep.
But I suspect publishers hate those.
I bet too.
And developers probably too. But they can now control the message in a way that you couldn't with a live demo, because things can go wrong in those live demos, and sometimes that especially in this day and age, the rise of the meme,
right?
Yes,
it could go horribly wrong. I'm sure. I'd love to ask Kaz Hirai how he feels about the whole Ridge Racer thing.
I hope he loves it.
Instance.
It's awesome.
I hope he loves it now, because it is pretty awesome. But
it's kind of mellowed over age into a kind of nice and comfortable meme that we can look back and smile on. At the time,
it's dramatic.
They're in dire straits with PlayStation 3.
That was not a good conference for them.
So, really quick question for all of you, since you've been, do you have any favorite E3 moments? Even ones that you weren't at, do you have just any favorite E3 moments?
Well, there's that Konami conference that John and Audie did the video on. I was there. I was sat next to Ollie Welsh, and he was trying to actually write news stories during this conference where all madness was breaking loose in front of us. That was kind of weird. There was also, I think, the reveal of the Xbox 360 Slim was pretty good at that conference, where at the end they said everybody in the room is getting a 360 Slim, and it did actually happen. I don't know. Any thoughts on your side, John? I mean, I guess the classic one, which was mostly an online event, was the whole PlayStation 3 reveal, and then there was the one a couple of years later, where they revealed some really killer games.
Right.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, for me, there's both the some of the things we got up to in the evening after E3 2019 are legendary, and I hope to share some stories someday because it was wild. But stuff that actually happened during the show. I remember the first time, or one of the first times I went to one of the Microsoft press conferences, and just like they had a special station just for capturing in 4K. I was the only person with the hardware capable of doing it at the show, apparently, and the only one who did it. And they let me in like 2 hours early before everyone else. So I was just like hanging out, talking to Xbox people, like with the at the capture station,
right,
just waiting for the show. And it was a fun and exciting thing, and just kind of like a weird situation to be in, but it was fun. Or I think it was the second last Sony show, maybe, where they did the God of War reveal.
Right.
Maybe it was 2017. Basically, they had a whole like orchestra there, playing like music from the game and everything. And the way they did that was like, it was amazing to be there in person. Or speaking along, Microsoft did that too with Forza Horizon 5 when they revealed that. It was like they actually had the different seasons represented in the room. So like when they were showing each of the 4 seasons on the screen, and when they actually showed like fall, they like drop a bunch of leaves from the ceiling and like play with the lighting in the room and stuff like that, right?
4, right? Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah, 4. That's what Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah.
Did I say 5?
Yeah.
Oh well, it's 4. That was super cool, and just a fun little detail that you wouldn't get necessarily otherwise. Or when they announced Halo Infinite at the time, like the way that first trailer and the excitement that it brought, it was awesome just to be in that area. Or when I got to talk with Miyazaki-san from Sega, when we saw the Mega Drive Genesis Mini there, because he was like there with a translator, just looking grumpy in the back of the room. I think he was jet lagged, tired. And then Audie and I, we were able to speak to him directly in Japanese instead, and started talking about Vic Tokai games on this thing. And somehow that just like lit him up, and he got really excited, and we ended up just talking about Mega Drive stuff. He's been there a long time as well. Oh, cool. So that was fun to just pick his brain and get into some of this stuff and see that, oh yeah, he's passionate about this stuff still. He was just jet lagged and probably tired of doing press interviews.
Yeah.
So, which I understand because it's tiring, but there was a lot of great stuff there. We had a good time.
Yeah, there've been so many classic E3 trailers as well. I guess the number one for me is still Metal Gear Solid 2.
Nothing will touch that for me. Well, the only one that comes close, I would say, is the Half-Life 2.
I was about to say
reveal showcase. That's close, and in a similar ballpark where it's just like, and I love watching it now because Gabe looks so just like he's just like, hey, I'm Gabe. We work on this game. Here it is. Got some cool stuff in it.
It's so relaxed. It's very funny.
It's so relaxed. I love it. It's great.
I think another great E3 demo, which I'm not sure anybody ever saw, was the one that Criterion did for Black, where it was just total destruction on PlayStation 2 to a degree that we'd never seen before, and it was an incredible demo. And that was definitely one that I will remember for a long time. I think Miyamoto actually popped in to see it. Not sure what he would have made of it, but yeah, that was a great demo.